All right, so now that we've dressed the chalice, let's talk about preparing for the hosts, the Eucharist. Okay, so these three sacred vessels are going to be used to hold Jesus, the body of Christ, but before that, the unconsecrated hosts. So these two gold vessels are called ciborium. So that's what the hosts are in when you come up to communion. That's what they're usually in, ciborium. And this little one here is called I think it's pronounced pyx. So, maybe you've seen it at Mass before. This is for like special things like sick people, house calls, but here at Prep we're going to use it for low gluten hosts. Okay? So actually before you try to figure out how many unconsecrated hosts to put in there and all that, the first thing you're going to do is check how many already consecrated hosts are in the tabernacle. So to do that, you're going to open this first drawer and you're going to find the tabernacle key. Okay, so here's the tabernacle key. We're going to come out here. Okay, so we see the lights on. That means that there should be consecrated hosts in there. So you always want to show reverence. So I'm going to kneel. Okay, so what you would do, put the key in here. Okay, open it up. So I'm not going to show it now. But you would open up the tabernacle and then you would check to see how many consecrated hosts are already in there, okay? And then you'd close it. And you actually, if this is day of, you'll keep the key in there. If it's not day of, then you could take the key out. So I'm going to take the key out now. Okay? So I figured out how many consecrated hosts are already in there. I'm going to put the tabernacle key back. So in total, for a normal prep Mass, you want around 170 hosts ready to go. So let's talk about how to count them. So usually they'll be kind of a half empty, ready to go. So these are unconsecrated hosts, so they're just bread. They're not sacred or anything like that, so don't worry about being disrespectful to the bread. Okay, so here's the normal unconsecrated hosts, and in here you'll find a couple. Here's extras. So here's low gluten. We'll talk about that in a second. And then in the previous video we talked about the altar bread, the large priest's hosts. So that's where these are. So there's always one of those when you dress the chalice. That was in the previous video. Okay, so if you and maybe a partner are counting hosts, you can go down here to find gloves. These are really handy, so you can put on some food handler's gloves. So what I would recommend doing, putting on your food handler's gloves, and let's say it looked about like there's about 20 consecrated hosts already, so that means if I want 170, I'm going to have to count about 150. So you and your partner put your food handler's gloves on, and I would just dump out a bunch here and then just do 10, 10, 10 until you get up to about 150, and then you can kind of bring them over however you see fit and put them in kind of equally in these two big ciborium. Okay? So you should have around 150 unconsecrated hosts split evenly among those two ciborium. And then you would talk to campus minister about how many, if any, low gluten hosts that you would want in the pyx. So these are individually wrapped. So with your gloves on, you would unwrap them and put however many, whatever, 1, 2, 3 in the pyx. And so at that point, your chalice should be dressed and you should have about the right number of unconsecrated hosts on the tray.